Well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this final week of the first half of the term. I want to begin by paying tribute to your fantastic tutors and your heads of year. Not only do they teach you superbly well in the classroom, but they also go above and beyond to reassure, to comfort you, to challenge you, to inspire you, and to provide you with encouragement at all times. So perhaps now give them a round of applause as an appreciation of your thanks for everything that they have done for you throughout this first half of the term. I want to continue by saying that I have been incredibly impressed by the way that we have come together as a community. This has been a really successful half term. The fact that most of you, most of the time, are walking around with smiles on your faces and that you're engaging with each other, enjoying everything socially, taking huge advantage of all of the co-curricular activities which are available to you is incredibly reassuring and a real tribute to your resilience and the maturity with which you have faced the restrictions under which we have to continue living for a little while longer yet. I think that the way you conduct yourselves is a source of real inspiration for those of us who are a little older, and a reminder of the importance of living in the moment and really just enjoying life as much as we possibly can. We've always made it very clear that we will share with you information regarding COVID-19 which is of significance to you, and we share with you also all the protocols, procedures that we have in place in terms of PPE, temperature scanners, health checks, etc., etc. We also share with you when there's a need for particular groups of students to isolate. Now that will happen from time to time, and that's an inevitability of the times that we're living in. But we're not going to share with you every time somebody has a cough or a sneeze, or somebody tangentially linked with the school maybe does or doesn't test positive. What we share with you is information which you need to know, and also information which we feel it's sensible for you to have as members of this community. What I would say is this: if you go back to the 1933 US election, and I'm sure that many of you are following events in the United States at the moment on the eve of this election, the 2020 election, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in his first address, in his inaugural address to the American people, said the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. Now, in the height of a global depression, as was then the case in the 1930s, I'm not sure that that was necessarily true. I think that people did have every reason to be fearful of their economic circumstances. And there are always times when there are justified reasons to feel anxious. And sometimes our emotional response to situations isn't driven by logic, is it? It's driven by the way we happen to be feeling at a particular point of time. It's also the case that we are all very different to one another, and so our responses, our intellectual responses, our psychological responses, our emotional responses to situations will differ, and that's absolutely fine. But at the same time, I believe that we do need to learn to live with the fact that, occasionally somebody may present symptoms, and we might need to isolate a group of people. Maybe sometimes people will have to work from home. And sometimes it might be the case that in a particular boarding house we have to isolate an individual or groups of individuals. What we do know is thus far the measures that we have put in place are working incredibly well. And actually there has been very little disruption to the vast majority of students within the school. However, there are going to be bumps in the road ahead. That's an inevitability of the times that we're living in. But what I sense is that now is the time that we need to calmly get on with our lives as much as possible, cherishing all the opportunities we have to spend time together, whilst acknowledging the fact that every so often we will need to share with you information which might mean that there'll be increased restrictions for a student, a group of students, for a very short period of time. That's an inevitability. Now, 8 months into all of this, is the time when we just need to calmly and gently accept that is the case. And we just get on with our lives. And we incorporate the fact that there is that dimension to lives now, which weren't there earlier in the year, but we incorporate that into our lives and we move forward. And I think you have done that superbly well this half term. I know you will next half term, and I could not be more proud of the student body that you are as well. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, and in particular to thank our team of school captains and senior monitors and monitors indeed for all that they have done this half term to make you feel so comfortable and so happy to be part of this wonderful community. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. I just wanted to take a brief moment to talk to you all about Black History Month, what it is and why it's so important. So in 1926, Carter Woodson, who was the son of 2 black slaves, realized that the history of black people in America and in the history of other countries was being ignored or misrepresented. So he began what he called Black History Week. But Carter Woodson's original idea lives on in Black History Month, which has been celebrated across the US since 1976. Now, the original goal was to educate everyone about the cultures and achievements of people of African and Caribbean descent. Carter Woodson always hoped that eventually it wouldn't be necessary to have a special week or month dedicated to Black history, because we would be celebrating Black people's history all the time, just like we celebrate the history of white people. However, in 1987, 2 men who worked for the Greater London Council, called Akabaya Adesebo and Ken Livingstone, became angry that the diversity in London and across Britain wasn't fully recognised. They pointed out that the history of Black people was all too frequently ignored or forgotten. 60 years after Carter Woodson's Black History Week began, there was still a need to raise awareness of Black people's contribution to society, even in a city as multicultural as London. Ken Livingstone, who later became London Mayor, said at the time, and I quote, "In order to enrich the cultural diversity of the Greater London area, it is imperative that Londoners know more about African influences on medieval and Renaissance European music, so that accepted ideas about European music is changed. Despite the significant role that Africa and its diaspora have played in the world's civilization since the beginning of time, Africa's contribution has been omitted or distorted in most history books." So, Black History Month has been celebrated in the UK every October since 1987, and it's great that we can now celebrate it here at Rossall as well. Across the country, thousands of excellent events are organised to educate people about Black culture and the achievements of Black people in art, science, business, sport, in fact, all spheres of human life. So around Rossall and around some of the buildings in school, I'm sure you've seen some of these posters. These are really nifty. They're pictures of really famous people of African or Caribbean descent. And in the corner of each picture, there's a QR code. If you grab an iPad with a QR reader, you can scan the QR code, and up on your iPad will pop information about each of these people. For example, on this sheet that I have right here, we have Dame Shirley Bassey, who left school at the age of 14 and worked in a factory. She was singing in pubs and clubs in the evenings when she was discovered by a promoter. Now, there was no X Factor in those days, and most people didn't even have a TV. But she quickly became a star in the UK and across the world. She's probably most famous for singing the theme song of 3 of the James Bond films. So that's just one of the myriad people that we're celebrating this month. So please do take time to have a look, to grab an iPad, to scan the QR code, and discover some of the people that make the UK and the world so special. Thank you very much.
It's the final week before half term, and we have all made great progress both individually and as a community. In particular, this week I have loved going along to the comp line, which took place last night in the chapel, and earlier this week I had the opportunity to go and watch our football team play against the Fleetwood Town squad. I have also had the pleasure this week of having a number of pupils nominate their friends for the Kindness Award, which I think is just wonderful and shows how we want to work together as a community. Please look out for notices which will be coming out to examination year groups later on this evening, and will be followed up with an assembly for those year groups later on this week. Before I move on to any practicalities, however, the most important thing is to announce our winners of the Headmasters Academic and Kindness Awards for this week. We have had a number of nominations both in the kindness and academic section this week, and as I said earlier, it was wonderful to have pupils nominating each other, and that's the way that it should be. The Headmasters Academic Award goes to Militza Tsetkowicz this week. This academic award is for excellent assessment scores in maths. Militza solved some challenging bonus questions as part of her test, apparently, and so her actual mark overall was 117%. This shows the level of commitment that Militza has to this subject, and it is wonderful to see her doing so well. On the other hand, our Kindness Award for this week goes to Harry Hogarth, who was actually nominated a number of times. This is because Harry has supported a new pupil who has arrived to the school this week and has done everything he possibly can to make the start for this pupil as easy and comfortable as possible. And this pupil, as a result, has settled in much more quickly than he would have done otherwise. Harry, this kind of kindness is exactly what makes you such a wonderful member of the Rossall community. I thought it was also worthwhile giving Abigail Singleton a special mention. A pupil has nominated Abigail for stepping out of her car on a Friday evening to give her umbrella to a pupil who was standing out in the rain. Thank you very much, Abigail, for thinking of others as well as yourself, and for so selflessly giving something of yours to protect somebody else. I want to follow up on some of the things that Mr. Quartermain said in the assembly earlier on, and that is about the idea of keeping our communities safe. You will always be told, as Mr. Quartermain was saying, about any situation where you need to be made aware. If a teacher or a pupil within your bubble tests positive, of course we will let you know. But what we can do, and what we should be doing all the time, is thinking about how we keep each other safe. We are really, really good at doing that, and we've got so many measures in place to protect ourselves and each other. It's worthwhile remembering that following those protocols is as important today as it was at the start of this academic year, and will be just as important when you come back from half term. As such, we want to make sure that the track and trace that we are using is as effective as possible. The watches on your wrists that you're very good at wearing now are collecting data and information all of the time. We are very aware that it's kind of difficult for you to know whether your device is on, and so we have spoken to the company who have provided us with these devices, and they have now developed an app for you to be able to check whether your device is charged, and whether the device is yours, whether the device has been synced. And so what we have done is we've created a username and password, and in the session today with your tutor, we would like you to log into the Shield app. The Shield app looks like the blue shield there, and you can download it from self-service if it's not already on your iPad. When you log in, please use the username student-rossall@shield.com, and the password for everybody is ROSS777FD. Once you've logged in to the app, you will be provided a little card on which there will be a specific username and password for you. When you put that into the app, you will see that the app will then be able to trace exactly you and only you on the system. This means that from now on you can sync your device at home, you can check how much charge it has, and you can very quickly and easily check if it's not charging appropriately and whether it's on or not. This will help us as well to make sure that all of the data that we have is as up to date as possible, and we would advise you to auto-sync your tracker every evening when you go home or go back to your boarding house.
I was so pleased to be offered a place at Rossall, and when I took the entrance exams, I knew it was the senior school I wanted to go to because of all the sports and the other different opportunities like drama and music. I enjoyed meeting all of my new teachers and seeing my new class. Due to COVID-19, we weren't able to come into school as we would have normally done for the transition programme, but instead we did all of our lessons and tasks via Zoom, and we were able to do all of our lessons and meet our teachers.
Getting my uniform was really exciting because that meant I was getting closer to a new year at Rossall. My mom ordered my uniform online. It was really cool. I liked all the different uniforms. I was really excited on stocking up on sports kit because I really like football.
The induction afternoon is amazing. We got to meet our new friends and our form tutor like Mr. Newson. It made me feel really confident for the first day.
The reason why I love sport at Rossall is because I get to do loads of sport with my friends. There are so many opportunities like football, hockey and rugby. The golf academy is so good because it has lots of activities after school. Mr. Hemmings and Mrs. Garton put in a lot of time for the golf lessons.
One of the activities that I do is Rossall Farm. I love Rossall Farm because it lets me be around all the animals and it's nice to know that I'm helping them.
I started Rossall in year 6. I've made friends from the junior school, but since I've came to year 7, I've made loads of amazing new friends. We're not all in the same form, but we also play together at lunchtime and break, and we also do loads of clubs together, such as hockey and farm. My favourite lesson is art, because you can use your imagination and be creative for the work you're going to do.
My favourite lesson is drama, because you don't have to write and you can just enjoy the lesson.
My favourite lesson is English, because I really like doing grammar and punctuation. My favourite part of English is comprehension because I really like reading and answering answers from the text.
The teachers are all very supportive and approachable. Because of the small class sizes, you have a great relationship with your teacher and are encouraged to ask questions and speak out. Also, you can always contact them outside of lessons if you need any help or support.
In football this week, our first team played against Militza College and ran out comfortable winners. Again, there was some excellent football played with our team controlling possession, being defensively solid and ruthless in front of goal. Our under-16 team played against Fleetwood Town's Academy on Wednesday, with us narrowly losing the game 1-0. There was some excellent football played by our young team against a very strong academy team, with us creating many chances and could have easily scored a goal or two.
The golf team travelled south on Monday to play in the annual HMC Southern Singles Championship at the Lancashire Golf Club. This year the tournament was being played on the blue course, and as always, a good field awaited.
A total of 36 boys and 15 girls were competing, representing 19 schools from all around the country. In the boys competition, Conor Owen finished 5th with a score of +2, and Lydia Cryer finished 1st with a score of +1 in the girls competition.
The boys team finished 3rd and the girls team 2nd. All in all, the team returned pleased with how the tournament went, and as always looked forward to returning to the wonderful venue next year.
Congratulations to Lucy Eaglin on her England hockey trial. We would also like to congratulate Pip Munden, Tinika Jennings and Seb Cave on enrolling with the DICE Sporting Educational Program. Well done all.
Well, one final piece of good news that we thought we'd keep to the very end of this assembly, and that is that we are going to buy a fleet of bikes, which we will keep in school so that you can enjoy bike rides up and down the seafront. So that they will be arriving over half term, as will, I very much hope, if the national rabbit shortage stops, some more animals for our animal farm as well. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful half term.
Oh